So, welcome to today's video. Today we are looking at ultramarine violet made from PV15. Because ultramarine violet is made from a PB29, they both are also known under the name sodium aluminium sulfosilicate. And in the case of ultramarine violet, it is often mentioned as a blue-violet shade or as violet shade as well. As you can see, we have here today some different colors, not as many as in the ultramarine blue video. That was ginormous. I will link that one in the description box below, as well as the ultramarine family overview video about all the different ultramarine pigments. And we will be starting with the brand Roman Szmal. It is a Polish company which offers half pans and full pans and absolute beautiful watercolors. Can really recommend those, and they're very affordable too. I know they are working on selling their colors also in tubes, but Roman Szmal himself isn't satisfied with the quality so far, so they will all only sell their colors in tubes when he says yes, now the quality is good enough for it. So when I don't mention anything else, the brands sell their PV15 ultramarine violet under the name ultramarine violet. As you can see here, the color can get quite dark if you use enough pigment. The drying shift here is not as strongly as it is in the ultramarine blue. We have around 10% drying shift. That means that the color looks a little bit darker while it's still wet, and it dries a little bit lighter. So that is just something to know. If you want to get a really dark ultramarine violet, you will have to use enough of your color, of course. But if you are, I am always testing my colors before applying them to the paper on a little bit of old watercolor sheets. Often I have some rest pieces from, for example, making swatch cards for my palettes, and those little paper rests stuff I take always to do swatching while I'm drawing, that I can see if the color is dark enough or if the mixture is like I want it to be. Yeah, so the next one is from White Knights. That's a Russian brand. I think most of you will probably know this brand. It's one of those brands which is very available all over the world. And this is probably, oh yeah, that's definitely the version from all of the versions I have, at least, which gets which has the darkest results. So it's really a lot darker than all the other ones I have. It also has a very, very beautiful granulation, and the colors from White Knights are very affordable. So that's a good option for a low price. On handprint, ultramarine violet is also ranked as a top 40 pigment. It is a very light, fast, semi-transparent, moderately staining, dark valued, moderately intense blue violet. Like I said, with a drying shift of around 10%. Because of that ultramarine violet is made from PB29, you have a significant amount of unaltered PB29 in every PB15. So the color itself contains always an amount of PB29, which don't change in the changing process. I have found different informations about this process. I will tell you right away, but first we will be skipping the next box because the White Nights box is so full with water at this time. I wanted to wait a little bit so that they don't cross-contaminate with each other, so that we get better end results. We will be swatching the core version first. Yes, what I found is that ultramarine blue will be added with salt ammoniac and for the blue hues, or dry hydrochloric acid for the red shades, and then heat it up to 150 Celsius. And that is where I found different informations, because I also found the information that it will be heated up to 200 to 250 grad Celsius, and that it will be added ammonium chloride 2.5 to 5%. So I'm not quite sure if both versions are possible, or if some of the information is the nowadays used, and the other maybe the ones they used in the past. I don't know. That is on different pigment database and pigment sites, the informations I have gotten, so can't really say which one, or if you could do both. But what I've also find is that it takes around 4 days of calcining to the air until a purple hue is created. So after you are adding one of the chemicals to the ultramarine blue and you will heat it, then it needs around 4 days until the violet hue is coming through. So definitely a bit of a timey process. Also, I have written down that most times the blue shade is called sodium aluminium sulfosilicate, and the red shade is sodium aluminium silicate. So that's all the information I found about which are worth mentioning about the pigment. If you have any other information, please let me know. I am always eager to learn more. So now we will be swatching the version from Winsor Newton Professional. That was my very first ultramarine violet tube. I have only a 5 milliliter tube, and which is now empty because I have squeezed it in various pellets. So yeah, it's definitely a beautiful version. The Winsor Newton Professional version doesn't get as dark as other versions. You can get it definitely darker. You will see that in the dried swatches I will be showing in the end, also in a close up, that there's one corner where it's much darker. But yeah, handprint also says that this is one of the lightest versions. So the next one we will be swatching is from the Korean brand Mijello Mission Gold. And there is a point worth mentioning, is that their ultramarine violet comes in a ultramarine violet number 1 and an ultramarine violet number 2. I'm I'm swatching the ultramarine number 2 because this is the single pigment PB15 version. And some brands like Mijello Mission Gold have those number 1 and number 2s. And if you are buying from a brand which offers a number 1 and number 2 version, or an yeah, the other point I will telling afterwards, then it is very, very important that you're looking up the pigments and which number you really want to buy, because the pigments containing in the number 1 and the one in number 2 are completely different. We have a single pigment version here, you can see. That's the PB15 version, but the color from them, called ultramarine violet, is a mixture of the PB15, PB15 column 3, so it's a phthalo blue, and a PR 122, quinacridone pink. And that is a three pigment version. And yeah, I really, really don't know why they are doing that, because to be honest, an ultramarine violet isn't a very expensive pigment. So not sure why, but they do offer those both versions. And if you really want a genuine ultramarine violet, then take the number 2. But I must say I had a little bit of binder separation issue here with the tube. I mixed it with a metal needle, but I still with the result I have here, must say it is, from the color, very different to all the other brands. It seems like either I have a lot of still of a binder in it, or it is just from because it is always like that, that it has, yeah, it looks a little bit like you have added a little bit of yellow or brown to the color, because the shade of violet is very different, a lot warmer than the other brands. So I've not used this color a lot, so I'm not quite sure if it's normal or not. If you know, I would very appreciate if you would let me know in the comments below. But the granulation of the color is super beautiful, so that's a big plus. The next version we are swatching is from Rembrandt, and the tube is fairly new. I think I bought it around end of spring, beginning of summer this year, so haven't used this one also very much. So I'm not quite sure if the result I got here is the normal one. If you know this, or have you, if you have experience with the Rembrandt Ultramarine Violet, I would be glad if you would let me know, because it I can't really say, but it just looks wrong for me. First of all, we don't have the granulation doesn't look really like granulation, more like you have a flat wash and have puddles of areas where you have more color and where you have less color, but without the strong granulation effect you see in the other brands. So that looks weird, and also the color itself looks a little bit dull in comparison to the others. Like, I don't know, they've used less or a lower pigment quality or added something. I really love Rembrandt colors, and I haven't had such different result with colors so far with other colors, but something here just feels like it's not right. Can't really say, but the shade of the color and how it behaves on the paper. When I look at the dried swatches here, it looks just completely different to the others. You don't have a clear flat wash. You don't have a wash with granulation. It just behaves, I don't know. It's very strange. So please let me know if you have used the Rembrandt Ultramarine Violet and have other experience, or if you have made the same experience. I would really appreciate if you let me know, because yeah, I'm super confused with this one, to be honest. So the next brand we are watching is My Mary Blue. And some of you have maybe seen my ultramarine blue video, the very, very long one. I will put a link in the description box below if you haven't. I have two different PV15 single pigment colors from the company. And the first is the ultramarine violet, and the other one is called ultramarine blue. But as you can see here, it is both a PV15 single pigment watercolor. And I was super confused of the fact that their ultramarine blue is a PV15 single pigment color. They have a ultramarine which looks like an ultramarine and is a single pigment PV29. They call it ultramarine deep. So yeah, excited to swatch those two next to each other, because in the ultramarine blue video, this version of My Mary just looked completely out of place there. So the first one is the ultramarine violet PV15 version from the brand I'm swatching. And when I look at the dried swatches here, I must say the granulation is super beautiful. It doesn't get as dark as some of the other brands, but I really, really like this version a lot. So then we will be swatching the ultramarine blue from My Mary, which is also a single PV15 pigment color. And you will see right away that the color looks very, very different to the ultramarine violet version. It's much more leaning towards blue than it is than the other versions are. Probably you will get this bluer versions of PV15 if you maybe don't heat it over as long as the others, or maybe heated on a lower temperature, or adding those chemicals in a lower ratio. I'm not quite sure, but could be any of those or a combination of those. But still, it looks more violet than blue. So for me personally, I don't see it as an ultramarine blue. It's definitely a violet color, so that's the reason why I did also include it here, even if the color name says it's ultramarine blue. So then we have two versions here, which aren't a single pigment version. This is a combination. Both of them are made of PV15 and PB29. So they just added PB29 to their PV15 mix. And the first one is from Schmincke Horadam, and to my total surprise, this is their version of ultramarine violet. They don't offer a single pigment version. I just can't understand this. If you know why, let me know, please. But ultramarine violet isn't a super expensive pigment. I can understand that some brands don't offer a genuine cobalt violet because it is one of the most expensive pigments used in art today. So that some brands are saying that the pigment is just too expensive and offer a hue instead. That I can understand, but ultramarine violet isn't a expensive pigment. So this is the part where I just can't understand why they offer this mix instead of single pigment versions. The reason I have both of those is that I've bought the tubes long before I started learning more about pigments, when I just looked at colors and thought, oh, that color looks beautiful, let's buy it. And from my stand point today, I wouldn't ever buy those again, and I would never recommend to any other person to buy this, because all mixtures with just two pigments are super easily created by yourself. Even if you are a beginner or have a very low experience in mixing, it is just two colors. If you own an ultramarine violet and an ultramarine blue, just mix those two together. You can make versions where you put half of this pigment and half of the other, or adding more of the blue or more of the violet, just like you want. You can so easily create this by yourself without any experience. It is, in my personal opinion, just a waste of money, and it is a better use of your money if you are investing in the single pigment versions of those pigments or other pigments. So yeah, of course, I don't say don't buy any convenience colors. I have a lot of convenience colors I love to use. And I'm happy to use also the pre-made versions. But from my point today, there aren't many two pigment mixes which I would buy again, because, like I said, if you have those two pigments on your palette anyways, then it is a waste of money and space, because two pigment mixes are very easily created without any experience. Instead of course, if you have convenience mixes where you have 3 or 4 different pigments in it, then to find the exact ratio of each pigment to get the result like the company which offers this as a convenience color does. So that will need a little bit more experience and also more time to get to this result. So that is definitely a different thing, I think. It is, of course, just my personal opinion. If you say you're totally mixing lazy, I am a mixing lazy person myself, but nowadays I say, okay, 2 pigment mixes, that's okay. I won't buy those again. But of course, in my situation also is that because of my health situation, I am not able to work anymore, and that limits my financial possibilities a lot. So I have to look which colors is reasonable to buy. So if you don't have that problems because you earn enough and say I use this color a lot, go for it. But it is my personal opinion that your money is invested better in the single pigment versions or maybe in other convenient mixes which you use a lot or which just have more pigments in it and is harder to reproduce. So the second version I've swatched here was the one from Core. We have already swatched in the upper row the single pigment versions from them, but they have this color also called Ultramarine Blue Violet, which is a mixture of PB15 and PB29. And then I realized I'm missing one box because I have one additional color, which is a single pigment PB15, but doesn't look like the traditional PB15. I think here is the point as well, like in the Memory Ultramarine Blue version, that it is probably produced a little bit different because it's even more bluish version of the PB15. It looks like an ultramarine blue with a little bit of violet in it. And this is from the company Winsor Newton Professional, and the color is called Smolt. And I don't know any other brand offering a Smolt. Yes, I'm aware that all the smolts like this are hues. It is not the original pigment. If you want to know a little bit more about the original pigment, I will put a link to my cobalt videos. You will see a genuine smolt in the overview video as well as in the cobalt blue videos. The original pigment for a smolt or the genuine smolt is PB32. It is a cobalt glass pigment, and it looks a lot like ultramarine blue from the shade of blue it is. And yeah, I don't know any other brands offering a color like that. I think probably because nowadays we have this synthetic cheap versions of ultramarine that it is redundant. Also, the genuine smalt isn't light fast, so that is just huge problem. And of course, we all know ultramarine blue is super light fast, so that is just a much cheaper and more light fast option. But I personally love this PB15 version, this smalt color from Winsor Newton a lot. That is why I like would buy it again if my when my tube is empty. It has this super beautiful blue with the touch of violet color and a beautiful granulation. So now we take a close up to all the other colors. They are now all dried up. You can see the granulation hopefully you can see now what I mean with a little bit weird situation with the Rembrandt color. And yeah, if you ask me which of those colors would be my favorite, it would be the White Nights one, the my Merry Blue one, the Core one. That are my top 3. Top 4, I would split between Roman Schmal and Winsor Newton Professional. That are my favorites from here. So, what I wanted to include to the smalt is that smalt, I think it was around 1600s or so that they discovered this one. Until then, most of the time, humankind had only 3 blue pigments: azurite genuine, Lapislazuli genuine, and Egyptian blue. That was over a long time all the blue colors people had. And the Lapislazuli back in the days was just as expensive as it is nowadays. So when they discovered smalt, which is, like I said, from the color hue very close to an ultramarine blue, but it was super cheap in comparison. Of course, that is why the color were so popular for a long time, just because it is a much cheaper option for dark blue. Because when you look at azurite or the Egyptian blue, it doesn't get as dark as a lapis lazuli or the smalt does. So that are very light blue colors in comparison. And I think that was the reason also why we don't use it nowadays anymore, because we have the synthetic version of the lapis lazuli, the ultramarine blue, which is super cheap and super light fast, and the smalt, like I said, isn't. So yeah, it just has gotten redundant over time. So yeah, but back to the ultramarine violets, I would love to know what of those color here would be your favorite, or if you have any experience with ultramarine violet by yourself and have maybe different brands. Let me know in the comments below which versions you like the most, or for what exactly you like to use ultramarine violets. And yeah, I hope that the video was helpful for you, that maybe you learned something new. And as always, I would be super thankful for a thumbs up or a follow, because it will really help me and the channel to grow and to produce more videos like this. And yeah, hope to see you in the next video. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.